What's going on? Okay, so now we're going to be live. That's great. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Let me go ahead and share this out into a couple places real quick, guys. But I personally am a short-term rental host, and it's been, a great way as far as investing, great way to accumulate wealth. And it's been a lot of fun for us. And so decided, why don't we go out here and have some fun, and we'll go across the nation every week. We're going to talk about a new place, and we're going to have a special guest, either a real estate agent or a local host, that is going to share their story and why people are investing in that area, what's on the horizon, why you should travel to these areas, and also how they have been successful in short-term, or today we're actually going to talk about midterm rentals. So, well, Vivian, why don't you go ahead and share with everybody a little bit about yourself, your past, all of that, and then we'll go into about what makes Austin real special.
Sure. My name is Vivian Yip. I live in Austin, Texas. I have been here since 2014. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and I moved here for an opportunity to work at Apple. So that's, I spent most of my career in the corporate world. I did, almost 7 years at Apple, launching the iPhone 10, 11, and 12. And there was a moment in time, I would say it was probably in 2018 or 2017, when I was like, you know what, I don't want this 9-to-5 rat race. I recalled reading a book by Robert Kiyosaki about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and how to stop trading time for money. So I started doing more investigation into real estate and diving really deep into it, learning about off-market. I found myself a mentor, and I convinced my husband, or I told my husband to start flipping houses. Let's just start flipping houses. I can do the design, I can do the analysis, and he can do the legwork. And together as a team, we just kept flipping and flipping and flipping, which was a really great way to make that, that money, that cash reserves. And then at some point in time, you get to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just paying the government money with these flips, especially with a W-2 job, and you're making money on flips. You're like, okay, how do I keep more of my wealth? And then I read Tax-Free Wealth, which is the accountant for Robert Kiyosaki. And at that moment, I was like, okay, well, we need to figure out how to keep more of these properties. So on our sixth flip, I decided that we should keep that property and turn it into a short-term rental, because back when I was 17, I actually worked at a hotel and really loved hospitality. And I thought, this would be a great way for me to get back into it and enjoy that hospitality experience. And I, renovated it, changed out the kitchen, opened up walls, made it into this beautiful furnished space, did so well in my first 6 months. And then the pandemic happened. And then I was like, oh, I need to switch. I need to figure out how to not let Airbnb cancel my reservations. How long have you been hosting, Paige?
Since 2020, I want to say.
Okay, so this is before.
Yeah.
So in 2020, or like the beginning of the pandemic, Airbnb was canceling reservations. So even if you had a strict policy and you wouldn't provide refunds if the guests' plans changed, they would be like, oh yeah, because of COVID, you can cancel your reservation. So here we are with all these hosts that were getting reservations canceled right under them. And I didn't like that feeling of losing control of my revenue. So at that point, I reached out to a friend of mine who had been hosting travel nurses, and I had no idea what this was. So I gave it a try. I switched to a 30-day model. And next thing you know, I had a family that was relocating and building a house. They stayed for 3 months. Then I had a construction team from Dallas. They stayed for 7 months. And I was like, oh, I think this is a thing.
Yeah.
There must be a gap in the market, because, it seemed kind of easy to get this, to get reservations and whatnot. And it was so much less work. That was my favorite part, was so much less work. And I was cash flowing, and I was in hospitality. So it was like the perfect trifecta.
Yeah, I need to do this with mine. I love hosting, but it is a lot of work. It's like you're getting a new guest every time. It's always something new that they can't find the light switch, or something's going out, or just it's a lot to handle. Hey guys, thanks so much for jumping on. We have Elena and Heather and Lisa and Monique and Jessica. Thank you guys so much. Hey Frank, I love how you said that you started as a flipper and then you saw that, cap gains is a MFer. It's very expensive. And I always tell, hey, Lauren, or Laurel, I always tell clients of mine, because I do a ton of fix and flip as far as loans go, it's great. You can make great, stacks of money, but that's still a job. Like, it could be a high paying job, but if you're not flipping a house, you're not making money. And so the goal is to get into something eventually where you're not only going to build wealth, so you can have that appreciation gain. You're also going to have, hopefully, some good cash flow as well. And then you can get into a residual. This could also be like, a retirement plan, because people always have to live somewhere. And so that's why we're so passionate about helping people in, real estate investing. And it's, sometimes a little bit more fun than a long term to go into a short term or a midterm. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about Austin specifically. Now, why Austin for you?
Well, I moved to Austin because of my job at Apple. But Austin for me, why I invest here is because of the appreciation. When you are able to find off-market properties, my husband and I are pretty good at that. We are able to find things that need work. We can add value back to it and force the appreciation, both through making the home like new again, and then also furnishing it and turning it into a midterm rental. I love Austin, and this is kind of interesting. I used to be on the Slack channel at Apple, and it was real estate investing, and I had all these managers from Apple, from the San Francisco market, wanting to buy in Austin investment properties. And I would be like, why are you guys trying to buy in Austin? And his answer surprised me. And he said, me as a manager, I've been told that I can't offer any jobs to people in San Francisco anymore, because for the price of one person in San Francisco, I can get two in Austin. So they delegated their managers to then, start hiring in Austin only. And he's like, well, if that's the case, why am I not buying in Austin? Because that's where the talent is going, or that's where the talent is. And I totally agree with that. There's so much good talent here. We have, some major hospitals that have built out here in the last year, and they're still coming on board in 2024. We have tons of big companies like Oracle, 3M, Google, Tesla. But, those two big hospitals, nobody's talking about that. Those are in Cedar Park, Texas. And the second one comes on board, I think, in March of this year.
Love it. So this is also a really great segue. If you guys are interested in maybe the midterm model, who are those people that you are attracting? Like, who's your clients? And then how do you go after them?
So everybody talks about travel nurses, and I host travel nurses in two of my properties. But the truth is, when I was looking through all the leads that I get in your travel nurse platforms, they only want to pay about $1,600 a month here in Austin. For $1,600 a month, they want a studio for that. $1,600 a month will get you a studio, but they're far and few between. Or you can get an extended stay for about $1,500 a month. For me, my properties are 2 to 3 bedrooms, and my clients' properties are 3 to 5 bedrooms. And the people we're trying to attract are people that are relocating, as well as people that have been displaced by, a flood or water damage or fire in their homes.
Yeah, because insurance pays real well.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. All right. How do you go about attracting these people? If you're looking at people that are relocating or insurance payouts, how do you find these people?
Oh man, it's a lot of work. So last year was when I launched Corporate Rentals USA and the Hestia brand. And it was, I had to choose between how I was going to spend my 24 hours. And I decided to focus on building the relationships with the insurance companies. The insurance companies, what I found, really like people with a lot of inventory to choose from. Mm-hmm. And they also like that the Hestia brand provides a certain kind of stay, which, has been a great, the feedback's been really great as to what Hestia homes look like. And then I also decided that this year I would focus more on the relocation companies, and there's a million of them out there, but there's a few well-known consultants that could really get you through the door. And I'm building those relationships as well. The other thing is we became Austin Chamber of Commerce members last year, as well as part of the Corporate Housing Providers Association. And those combined are about $2,000 in memberships. So I've become a member on behalf of my company so that we can really try to get into those firms that, your everyday ordinary investor with one or two properties can't get into.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, Gay. Hi, Amy. Oh, sorry. Hi, Amy. Wrong hand. Hi, Amy. So Frank has a great question, and you might have some investors that you work with that are out of state. So he said, I would love to buy in Austin. Advice for an investor buying outside their home state.
Ooh, that's a really terrible question for me because I haven't purchased out of my home state either. But if you're interested in investing in Austin, we hear this all the time. Everyone's like, well, I want to find a cash flowing property in Austin. Well, that's going to be tough because, cash flow on a long term, and I always tell people to underwrite your midterm rental as a long term rental first, because if for some reason something changes, you always have a backup. And I'm a realtor as well. So if anybody's interested in the Austin market, my husband and I team up. But finding cash flow in Austin is pretty tough. My best strategy is to find something off market that needs work that you can renovate to a livable standard and then turn that into a midterm rental, and then you can double your cash flow.
Yeah. And then I don't invest in Austin, but we own out of state. And I'll just tell you from my experience, we invested where we have family. And so for us, everybody's strategy is going to be a little bit different. There are some people where you're trying to play into that, like, do you want to visit the property? If you want to visit the property, like, that's going to narrow down your location. Because a lot of times what we hear is like, where's the best place to invest? And I'm like, that's not the answer that we have to give you first. There's 50 other different questions you have to answer before we can even tell you where you want to invest. So do you want to visit it? So pick a place where you want to visit if that's important to you. And then also look at the strategy. Is it cash flow? Is it appreciation? What is it for you? Because Austin, like California, you're probably not buying here and you're not going to cash flow real well because it's real expensive. However, your appreciation gain here is real great. So look at that instead. So it depends on what your goals are. We have to identify those before we're going to identify a market. Now, as far as buying out of the state, luckily we had a trusted expert there. I actually didn't see the property in person until like we were closing. I think we were closing like in a week, and I was like, well, too late now. We like buying this thing. So having a trusted expert, it's great because we do have technology here and we can FaceTime you in and all that kind of stuff. But you really want somebody that is knowledgeable about real estate that can, get in there and really identify if you're going to flip it into a midterm, how the property that you're looking at, how is that going to work? You need someone that has a really great eye as far as a real estate agent if you're going to do something out of the state. And having, if you're going to do STR midterm, your cleaner is going to be your like best friend because they are your boots on the ground. So,
and sometimes their husband too.
Yeah, same. Mine, I'm like, hey, I have like a smoke alarm going off. Do you have anybody that could go over there? She's like, my mom. All right, sounds good. Hey, I have a leaky toilet. Oh, awesome. My husband. I'm like, you're like the best, by the way, but they become your best friend. Let's see what we got up in here.
Just a quick little tip on finding a realtor if you're going to buy out of state. Make sure that they're super well connected with contractors and, permitting processes if you're going to go and do the, renovation route. Because, like with us, my husband's a former Texas inspector. So we've been very lucky that we can walk through a property and because we have a flipping background, he has a renovation background. Find someone that has that kind of skill set. That way they can prepare you for what the cost might be if you do need to renovate. Even as simple as, changing the countertops to get a little bit more, forcing a little bit more cash flow that way or appreciation. But find someone that has that skill set. They could walk a property. They could tell you how much it's going to cost for a new water heater, how much it might cost for a new air conditioning unit, what a new roof might cost. Because those things, if you can get an answer like really quickly, someone you can trust that knows and has the experience, you can make your decision a lot better. And you would know that you can trust you have someone with boots on the ground.
Yeah, it's a different person. If you're like using the same real estate agent for buying your personal house and then investing, it's not always the same person. That's possibly a different person because a different skill set. And then I also tell clients a lot of the time, like, you want to work with somebody that's like actively doing it. They don't have to actively do it like all the time, but I know for myself, like, we are always looking at, God, that's like my, probably my toxic trait, looking at properties that I'm never going to buy, like always, you just spend like 2 hours just like going down the rabbit hole. But we're often looking at picking up stuff and putting offers out. And if you have an agent that's in the field, not only are they going to have just empathy for you for what you're going through, But they are going to be the most up to date. So you want somebody like knows what they're doing, that has experience. So make sure you're picking people that, specialize in what you're looking at. So who do we
Yeah,
have?
you wouldn't just go to a general practitioner doctor to go and, have a look at your heart if they've been looking at brains their entire life. So it's just like any profession out there. There's very special skill sets for whichever approach you decide to take.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Who else we got? Hey, Ginger. Hey, Debbie. Thanks so much for jumping on, you guys. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about do you know like what's coming to Austin? Besides we have the hospitals, what are attractions that maybe people are looking to visit Austin on a long-term stay, or what is like up and coming in that area? What makes it so unique?
Wow, there's so many things like in the suburbs, Bastrop, they're coming up with and I'm not even sure if it's launched yet, but it's supposed to be like a studio, like a Hollywood Studios kind of place. Up
Okay.
in Gerald, I've heard rumors about sort of like a Disneyland kind of thing. There's also, the water park, Kalahari is huge in Round Rock, Pflugerville border. So a lot of people are coming and visiting there. I think a lot of employers are still coming here. I checked if you look at the Austin Chamber of Commerce, there's a publication every quarter of who's moving here, who's expanding, just to get an idea of the numbers and the companies that are coming. So those are really great resources.
Okay, I love it. It's kind of like Atlanta. Atlanta is a big place now for TV and movie production. If you can be in the city and provide, those are long-term stays for people, but they're not going to live there forever. They might be in
Right.
town for, 2 or 3 months filming and then they come back home. And so being able to offer them a midterm rental is a really great fit. Let's see. Let's talk about the fun stuff in Austin. What are some big festivals and conferences? So I know you guys got South by Southwest, which is like,
Yep, that's just
I
around
think
the corner.
so that's what made Austin so popular, is having South by Southwest.
Yeah, in
What other festivals?
October, we have ACL, Austin City Limits. So
Okay.
that happens for 2 weekends.
Uh-huh.
We have the F1 event, Formula One. So that happens like right around the same time. So October is a crazy time to try and fill your midterm rentals because, well, actually, you could do really well at midterm rentals if you price it correctly.
Yep.
Let me think. The Austin Food and Wine Festival has blown me away for the second year in a row, and that's I think in like June, if I
Mhm.
remember correctly. So that's starting to draw a big crowd as well. So lots of things. I mean, Austin is the kind of place where it's happening all the time. There's almost live music every night somewhere in the city, and a lot of people just love visiting here because the restaurant scene is really great and expanding. It's just a fun place.
That's cool. So tell me a little bit about your company. Where did this name come from, Hestia? Because I'd never heard of anything like that before.
Yeah, when I was a little girl, I remember being so enamored by Greek goddesses.
Mhm.
So, did you remember learning about Greek goddesses? Do you
I
remember the name
mean, I
Medusa?
we do, right? I'm sure we did learn about them, but
Yeah. So there was like a Greek goddess named like Medusa, and she was like
she had the snakes.
she had the snakes, and if you look her in the eyes, you would turn into stone or
Stone.
something like
Uh-huh.
that. Just it was just very mysterious and exotic. And I was thinking of a name that would really fit what I was thinking about midterm rentals. And I picked the name Hestia because she's the Greek goddess of home,
Mhm.
hospitality, and hearth.
Oh, I love that.
So I just liked the way it resonated with me.
Uh-huh. I love that. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, why don't we tell everybody where they can find you? Let's go out, run off some handles. And I know you got a pretty booked schedule this year. So why don't we run off, how do they connect with you? And then also what's coming up in the future for you and Hestia?
Sure. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram, Vivian Yip _official. And then if you look my profile, it'll take you to the Corporate Rentals USA Instagram as well. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I do have a Facebook group to teach other people about midterm rentals, and that is Midterm Rental Wealth with Vivian Yip. And what was the last question?
What is coming up for you? Because I know you got a
Oh
book
gosh.
schedule. You got a lot of stuff coming
Yeah,
up. People can catch
I
you.
do. I have quite a few in-person smaller events. If you're in the Texas market and you're a realtor, I might be coming to talk to you about midterm rentals because I do have a CE course that just came out. So you can get CE credits for learning about midterm rentals. I have two pretty big speaking engagements this year. One I'm almost booked for. It's in Las Vegas. And then I'll also be in LA at the end of July for the Subtle Asian Real Estate Conference, where I'll be speaking at that conference as well.
Oh, I love it. I love it. You got a
Yeah.
big year this year. Let's see. Okay. So Louis asked, so a while back I had posted about, when you're over like in Disney, there's a lot of condos that service that Disney area. Is there something like that in Austin where it's like very short-term rental friendly, or is Austin like difficult with short-term rental?
Short-term rental landscape changed about 5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that they had three different kinds of permits, but the foundation was you couldn't get a permit unless you homesteaded it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
they kicked that out. The court has said that's no way, you don't, that you can't run that through. So basically anyone can run a short-term rental now, no matter if it's arbitrage or, as far as I know, what it could be arbitrage, it could be an investment property, but you still have to apply for a permit, and there
Okay.
is a limit on the number of permits.
That they'll do. Okay.
So yeah, but I mean, Austin has a lot of short-term rentals, so
Mm-hmm.
pick your poison. Midterm
Yeah.
rentals, short-term rentals.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised because it's such a like happening area, and we do have this housing crisis going on, but then also you're in Texas, and so you have this like very interesting, lenient-ish type of permitting process for somewhere so in demand. A lot of times you guys got to be real careful where you're investing because, places like Los Angeles, San Diego, New York, they get real difficult to short term there. And so that's when we're seeing sometimes people looking at like, what else can I do? And midterm is another viable option in these areas that maybe they don't allow short term. And so short term would be anything
Yeah.
under 30 days. Midterm is going to be the other option for something like
And
that.
no permits or regulations.
Yeah.
No permits, no regulations. And honestly, I like midterms because I don't feel like we are doing anything to impact affordable housing. We're actually fulfilling a need for extended stays.
Yeah. I know that's a little tough sometimes when you're like, nobody can live here. Nobody can live in LA because we wanted to travel there. We want to turn everything into a short-term rental. All right. Hey, Kevin. Hey, Brandon. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to be back here next week. We are going to Branson. We got Ryan Duffy coming on, and he is investing in the Midwest. He's a lot of fun. So you guys are going to love that. Next week, Wednesday, every Wednesday, noon on my profile. Go follow Vivian. She is a wealth of knowledge. And thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're
I
welcome.
loved it. So much
You're
fun.
the best first guest ever. I love it. All right, guys. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll be back next week with another edition of Short Term Rental Confidential. Bye, guys.